Hello, and welcome to the Catching the Octopus podcast. Here, we will explore how connecting inward gives us an advantage outward. We openly talk about the obstacles and challenges and difficulties that life throws our way and how they become moments of gratitude and things that can benefit us when we look back on our lives. I'm your host, Naomi Hurley, and it is my mission to bring you top quality guests that will share with you openly their obstacles and also the techniques they use to go inward that strengthens the way that they serve themselves and others at the highest level. Thank you for joining. Let's get started. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Catching the Octopus podcast. Today, I'm super excited to have Michelle Griffiths as my guest. And Michelle's an entrepreneur. She's a professional actor, voice actor, and acting coach. She owned and operated a multi-award-winning, successful electrical business with her husband for just under 12 years, demonstrating expertise in marketing, system and procedures, customer experience, people management, safety, finance, and accounts. And they built the business from the ground up with a steadfast commitment to delivering an exceptional customer experience. Her success stems from being a team-focused professional and an organized individual who's resourceful, solution-orientated, adaptable, and consistent in delivering outstanding results. Now, Michelle's also got this passion for acting, and her passion for acting was evident from a young age, leading her to secure lead roles in many local theatre productions. She's also sought after for her professional voiceover work and is working in front of the camera for film and TV, promotional videos, corporate videos, and commercials. And you might even recognize her from the commercial insert in my podcast as well, because, I wanted that to be super professional, so I wouldn't have asked anyone else. Welcome to the podcast, Michelle.
Hi, Naomi. Thank you for having me. It's about time.
I know.
I've been in your podcast for a while now.
You have. I mean, you've been there from the start, right?
Just not in person.
Yeah. You've probably, or you've been in just as many podcasts as me. So, you're doing all right, I reckon.
I should open my own podcast company.
Well, I want to be a guest if you do, right?
100%.
So Michelle and I also, we have a bit of a personal relationship as well. We've been friends for many, many years. And she's one of those people that I go to when I just need that inspiration and that pickup. And I can see why her acting coaching is so successful at the moment, because kind of she coaches me all the time, right?
What, to be an actor? In life or real life?
In life, yeah. No, just through troubles and stuff. And I've been through a bit of a change in my life in the last couple of months. And I'd say that Michelle's been one of those rocks that's helped me get through, because she has this really amazing way of looking at life from different perspectives and can be really objective and observant of things.
Thank you, Naomi. And I'll have to say the same for you. But maybe that ability to observe is why I am so passionate about acting and why I am now pursuing my acting career.
Yeah. So why didn't you pursue your acting back when you were younger in your 20s?
Oh, I think a lot of it comes down to self-belief. I always had that performance bug, if you like. I always had that addiction to stage performing, acting. And 100% wanted to go to WAPA. And in fact, my grandfather was a big advocate for me right from a young age. He would say to me every time I saw him, and he lived in Perth, and we used to take trips often to see him, and he'd say, when are you going to WAPA, or when are you going to apply for WAPA? But I do think maybe spiritually I wasn't ready for that journey yet. I went on a completely different, very rewarding journey. However, when that part of my life ended, that's when I knew, well, I guess I went for a bit of a soul search and found that this is what I love. I've always loved it. I can't deny it any longer. The itch is so great and I need to scratch it. And I did.
And it's totally different circumstance, but it reminds me a little bit of me, actually. Like, you're in corporate, you're in that entrepreneur space, you're an amazing leader, and with you and Carl, when you built a fantastic business, and you're in your zone of excellence, But this is your zone of genius, right?
I think, yes, for me, I'm very left and right brained. I do believe that, you know, some people are left, some people are right. I like to think I'm a bit of a mix of both. And I
Mm,
think it's a bit of a superpower of mine because I can apply the business side of my acting career to a very creative industry, and it keeps me moving forward, if you like. And I feel
yeah.
that in my new industry, I feel like a lot of actors maybe get stuck in that creative side and they can't push through for fear or not knowing how to organize themselves. But I think that is definitely a blessing, having that very active left side of my brain working as well as my creative side.
Well, I think it's really inspirational watching people follow their zone of genius and follow their passion. But everything in our life leads us to where we are at that point where we make that decision, right? So let's turn the clock back a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about your role in business. How did that come about? What was the foundations there?
My business is in my family. My grandfather was a businessman. My dad followed him into business, and is still in business. And it's either in you or not, and it's definitely in me. And so when the time came, my husband's an electrician, and naturally you're always seeking more, or you feel like you've got more to offer, more to give.
Mm,
I wonder how many of your business listeners understand that. You've just got something else that you need to give.
mm,
So the urge was quite great with me. My husband wasn't on board in the very beginning, even though it was an electrical contracting business and we needed his license to open this business.
yeah.
I did drag him kicking and screaming into business, and we've got this wonderful dynamic where we're opposite to each other. So where he is really good at being the face of the business, I'm very good at the background operational side. So we started in our home, and then we evolved to a sea container in our front yard, and then we evolved to our first workshop, and then we evolved to a proper working office and
Mm,
workshop. And we ran that business for 12 years, very successfully, won multiple awards for all sorts of things: business management, systems, uh, human resources, marketing. We really excelled in that space. But I do feel like we ran that marathon rather than just paced ourselves,
mm,
because come to 2021, COVID had just hit. Everything was sort of going south. Trades and I guess human resources were getting lighter.
mm.
So we made the decision after 12 years of sprinting a marathon, we were really tired, to close our business. And that's when the soul searching really began.
Yeah. So on long service leave, and instead of just putting your feet up and relaxing, you were like, okay, what can I do? What's next? Right.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I think I was desperate to find that. I was desperate to know what is my next move. And I think when you've been so busy in a business for 12 years and your brain's
Mm,
been so active, it's really hard to get off that hamster wheel and wind back and just enjoy that long service leave. And I think business is a form of validation as well,
mm. Yes.
unfortunately. And not having that anymore. Who am I? What am I? Where are we going? And that's when the discovery eventually came to me, and it was, I just knew. So I then I was on, just dabbling in some forums, I guess, on Facebook and online around acting and casting for film and TV.
Mm-hmm.
And this 15-year-old girl jumped on, interesting, on a Facebook community page and said, I want to be an actress. What are the best acting schools and for film and TV? And someone said an acting school in Melbourne called TAFTA.
Yep.
So, naturally I'm curious. And then comment after comment after comment was TAFTA, 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 which is the Australian Film and Television Academy.
Yes.
They've got academy in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and one in Los Angeles, run by John Orchik. For any of those old school cop shop lovers, he was the heartthrob in cop shop, but he now owns those businesses. Fabulous fella, by the way. I thoroughly enjoyed working under John. He's so talented, so clever, so quirky. Anyway, so I applied, and then they wrote back to me and said, well, here's your audition. One was a Shakespeare audition. The other one was just I guess, a modern Australian script. I had to learn them both. I'd never done Shakespeare before. I learned very quickly. And funnily enough, I got a letter back saying, you're accepted. And my goodness, my stomach, I remember that sick feeling of, I knew, that feeling where you've got to do it. I knew I had to go, even though it was massive. I've got 2 kids, I've got a husband, and we literally packed up and moved to Melbourne so I could do this course. So I was very lucky to have the support of him, my kids. One was happy, one wasn't. That was challenging. But once we were there and established, it's the best thing we've done, I think.
And this happens to us in business, in personal, in leadership. When we're actually meant to be doing something, you just feel that pull, don't you? And
undeniable.
I think the success comes from, yes, there's going to be fear from time to time because it's an unknown, but stepping into that and embracing that. And not everyone has the gift to do that.
Well, we do, but
yeah, good point.
There's just the comfort.
They just choose not to, right?
Yeah, there's security, and that's understandable. Everyone's different, and we all reach this point at different times in our life. I joke and say it was my midlife crisis. It's a good midlife crisis. I think could be much worse, couldn't it?
Yeah.
But I do think everyone reaches this point where they're like, what am I doing with my life? I need to do what I love, and if I'm not doing what I love, I don't think I can be happy. So yeah, that's what happened to me.
And did you find the support of others, maybe even me, was one of those things that helped get you into that space? Because I know with me, when I'm in those times of self-doubt or uncertainty and should I step into this and should I do that, I reach out to my network.
Yes.
Did you find that was beneficial to you as well?
Oh, it was a no-brainer for everyone I told and spoke to. They're all like, go, you need to go. My network obviously knew me well enough to go, this is what you have to do. And I was probably the one that didn't believe it as much as they did. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, I did. I think I told anyone that would listen. And the only message I got back was complete encouragement and support and go do it. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
And there was only 16 places too, right? So I just want to clear that up. It's not like there was 100 enrollments and you got, 14. Sorry, got that wrong. 14. Yeah. So out of all those people, like you were the top 14 in the top 14 with your audition.
Yes. And, I know it's a competitive school to get into. So I'm very, very, I feel very grateful. It must have been my time, and And I went.
And timing, there's a lot around timing. And just a bit of background on Michelle and I, we met way back when, and over life's got busy and we've sort of drifted apart and come back together. And that's one of the things I've seen in both of our lives. When the timing's right, the opportunity presents itself, but it's whether you grab the opportunity.
I think so. I think, look, if you're on the fence and you don't know whether you should do it or not, you have to do it. And I did read or hear, I can't remember, I read that many quotes just for my own, I guess, in the acting industry, you do need thick skin. So I'm addicted to inspirational quotes and anything that will keep me focused and keep me believing in myself. But I did read somewhere, or did I listen somewhere? Can't remember. But I know it was a male, and he said, if you don't know, you need to start. Just start your journey on that path, because if it's not for you, the door is going to close and then you'll know. But unless you start that journey, you don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I did. I got my acceptance letter back from TAFTA, and I knew I needed to at least try. And if it logistically wasn't meant to work and we weren't meant to relocate to Melbourne, the door would have closed, but it didn't. It stayed open. And so we took the next move. There's a rental crisis. Where are we going to live?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. This is how the universe works. God bless the universe.
Yes.
It's funny because my husband's brother lives in Melbourne, and there was an apartment complex in a fantastic area, which was so accessible to my course. We could easily put the kids into good schools. And we ended up getting an apartment in his complex in the middle of a housing crisis.
Wow.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
it was just so meant to be. So if you don't know, start. Just take one step. And I think I apply that now to my acting career because I am a startup again. I have to build
Yeah.
my network. I have to build my credibility. So I guess it's just literally every day for me is I just do just one thing toward my acting career every day. And if some days I'll do 20 things, but
Hmm.
that's how I started it, particularly when I got back from Melbourne and I'm like in Bunbury, in regional Western Australia going, how am I going to make my acting career work? However, having said that, all of my acting coaches said the same thing. Because I said, can I make an acting career work from Western Australia in a regional town? And they all said 100%. Thank you, COVID. All self-taping is
Mm.
done online. And then if you need to go back for a callback audition, then sure, you've got to travel.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't mind that. That's part of the fun, part of the journey. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and just going back though to if you've got a passion, a burning desire, an itch that you need to scratch. The other thing too is sometimes we don't know what we want to do. We're
Mm.
completely unsure, and we're like, I don't know what I love. Then follow the things that bring you inspiration every single day, because if you pursue them, then you just don't know where that's going to take you. It might be a simple thing like I love exercise or I love gardening or I don't know. There's so many hobbies, you just don't know. If you pursue it enough, you just don't know where it's going to lead you.
Yeah. When I do work with people around that whole purpose, I often take them back and say as well, especially if we're doing hypnosis, go back to the time when you were between 7 and 10. What did you do for fun? And normally, when people are in that space, that gives so much clarity because,
Wow.
it opens up so many potential things. Now, I used to play teachers, believe it or not, by myself with the blackboard, the whole bit. And then I used to, love helping people. And in the classroom, I was always helping people. And so here I am doing this now. Um, but
Funny that.
it's quite interesting that
I used to make up shows.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And maybe
Perform.
other people listening now are going to have an aha moment, right? I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I
Maybe.
used to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting how it comes through in from kids. We just generally know what brings us joy, but when we're adults, we sometimes have some hesitation on going in that space.
100%. I do worry that this is something that I love, and here I am trying to monetize something I love. Sometimes
Mm,
those two don't go together, do they? Um,
mm,
for one reason or another. But I think trying to monetize what I'm doing, I guess the way I've done that is to go into teaching. Funny you say that. And now
mm.
I'm teaching people of all ages. I have a 70-year-old student at the moment who wants to side hustle into the film and TV industry. Having said that,
Awesome.
she's amazing. She's got a 50-year stage acting background.
Yeah, yeah,
She's like, I'm 70, I'll do it for fun. A, B, it's good pocket money. I
yeah.
know she'll get work. Yeah, and it's just me, I guess, showing her the pathway into the industry because it's not clear. Like, how do you get into the film and TV industry? It's like this unknown, unspoken thing.
Yep.
It's not that hard. I think you just need a little bit of guidance, bit of training. But that's how I've tried to monetize my career without impacting on what I love. So I'm
Yes.
teaching everything I know and learn all the tools and techniques I'm able to apply to my students, and I get to practice.
Mm.
Can't complain. But the other thing too is it's good pocket money for me. And yeah, there's something about supporting emerging talent like I am. Yeah, it gives me great joy to support people into that industry.
Well, I also feel like we've got this universal calling to help others and share our knowledge with others. And that's kind of what drove me into doing what I'm doing. But even as leaders, right, that's when we actually have a really good day when we're in a leadership role and you might be able to share something from your business there. It was when you saw one of your employees achieve something or grow or
Mm,
have those moments. And that's when our cup was filled. So
yeah.
we're driven really deeply to be able to serve. And so serving and, being able to put food on your table at the same time, that's a win-win.
Oh, and now you've got me thinking about my time in small business. At its peak, I think we had a team of 16 and a few subcontractors, working on the side as well. And it did give us great joy to impart our small business knowledge to them.
Mm.
And actually funny, a lot of them have gone on to open their own contracting business, and they stay in touch, and they'll call up and say, I have no idea how to read a balance sheet, or I have no idea, am I making money? That's always a good one.
Yeah.
So it's such a joy just to show them a few simple tools and techniques so that they can know those fundamental things about running a business, and it's a lonely road being in business. So it's nice to have someone to lean on, but it definitely was really empowering to, so, our electricians that were out there in the field, they had quite a decent amount of knowledge about how a business operates and runs, right from what the administration girls are dealing with, or guys, through to what's actually happening out there in the field, through to what's happening back in the office in management. Do you know what I mean? We made sure that we kept that communication line really open, because I think that's a massive part of a successful business, is keeping your team in the loop, keeping your team understanding, what your challenges are at the time, or if you've got a success, what is that success and how can we replicate that? I think it's empowering to be able to give back to them as well.
Well, it's part of workplace psychological safety as well, in my opinion, of making sure that people are aware of what's going on, and you don't have to give the finer details. And I know as a leader, there was many times where I'd say, look, I can't go into depth with this, but we're about to go into a period of change, or there's a potential contract that might be coming through that's going to ramp up our stuff. So we need to prep now. And so you don't have to give all the nitty gritties and the secrets away, but you can still empower your people by sharing information, can't you?
Oh, definitely. And I think that's far better, far better way of going about it than telling them at the last minute, or knowing that something's not quite right. You know what I mean? And then they're making all these assumptions, and there's Chinese whispers going through the business. I think it's critical, as you say, you don't have to tell them everything, but totally, you need to just give them enough so that they feel comfortable with any major change that you're bringing into the business. Definitely. Yeah. And that always comes with growth. As your business grows, more people come into the team, the dynamic changes. You might update systems and processes and things that people don't like change. I mean, safety is a massive one in the workplace, isn't it? I know I did know so many small businesses that I don't know how they were doing it, but they were running without safety systems. And they had no plan in place, that if something went wrong, they were literally left themselves open. And I know that's coming into the workplace more and more now, which is essential. But, people don't like change, and people don't like paperwork. So it is a challenge as a business owner, trying to find the most efficient way for your team to adapt to change without resistance, if that makes sense.
Yep. And I remember this one time I got a phone call from a member of the public in this business I was working with, and they're ringing up going, I just want to know, how can I apply for this particular job? I've heard that you've got these jobs about to come up. And I'm like, no. And I was adamant going, no, I'd know about this if this was going to happen. And I went in and spoke with my manager, and they're kind of looking around the room. And I was like, why don't you tell me? And instantly I felt stupid.
Yes.
Then I felt like I wasn't trusted. And obviously the people they were trusting were the people they shouldn't trust, right? Because I've got members of the public ringing me. So it just creates, and I think that's important as in that leadership space, that people do have trust, and they can trust, because then when you need them to level up, they're prepared to go in blindly, because they know that you're not going to let them down.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be there to support them or pick up the pieces. You've got their back, right? And it's the same with customer complaints. It happens. But if you know that your team member, we should know your team well enough to know that they are going to do the best they can, or the right thing in any situation like that. They need to know that, if they make a decision without your assistance, you've trained them well enough, or they've got enough trust in them that they can make that decision. And then I guess if something goes wrong, you've got their back, and you'll get in there and support them and help them through, and I guess put the situation to bed the best that you can.
If you're enjoying this podcast, and you want Naomi or any of her guests featured on your podcast or as a keynote speaker at your next event, you'll find their contact details included in the show notes. If you'd like to learn more about how you can work with Naomi individually or as part of your strategy to improve leadership in your business, then review the courses, offers and services at getupandgroconsulting.com.au.
Yeah, no, most definitely. So what do you think, how is your acting career rather, how do you think that's benefited from coming from that business and leadership background?
Oh, the best part about where I've come from is the hustle. I'm in a brand new industry. I don't know anyone, and it is a very small industry, believe it or not. People do know each other. And I think having that ability to put yourself out there, I wouldn't say harass, but, having the confidence to, follow up with an email, follow up with a phone call, build those connections, those relationships. And I feel like I'm a little bit of a forensic. If I get wind that there's a feature film coming to WA or a TV series, or there's some form of casting going on, I will, there's heaps of newsletters and subscriptions you can be a part of. And I'm forensic. I will go and find out who's the production company, who's directing it, who's casting it, who's the casting director, who's who in the zoo, basically. And I think that's been a really great part of bringing business into my new industry, is just being able to hustle and look for opportunities. That's massive, because in small business, we all know we can't rely on the phone just ringing. We can't just rely on Facebook or social media. You have to get out there and make those connections and network.
Yeah.
It's scary, but one thing that I also have learned from being in business for 12 years is knowing who your people are. And when I say your people, yes, your immediate team, but your clients. And I know when I audition for something, I know that when I make a connection with someone, I reach out and they respond to me, even if they haven't got anything for me, but they're just connecting and saying, thanks for reaching out, we'll keep you in mind. I know I can tell who my people are. And I'm okay if someone doesn't take to me or sort of is dismissive, because I know it's a numbers game, and business is exactly the same. You have to find your ideal client. I think for me as an actor, I need to find my ideal production company. I need to find my ideal director, because those directors, I've learned that they're going to cast a known over an unknown. If they know you, how you work, they know you're easy to get along with, they know that you can follow instruction and you'll get the job done, they're going to cast you over someone else. So I think it's a big one, is building those networks and understanding that it's okay if that person is not my person.
Yeah.
But also recognizing when they are my person and really putting the effort in.
Yeah. And I think we spoke about at one point a while ago, and I might have said this on another podcast, there was that quote that I found: rejection is protection.
Nice.
And and just being in that space of understanding that sometimes that no is actually beneficial for us, even though we don't realize it, right? And just having trust in that.
Exactly. It's guidance without even knowing that it's guidance. And it hurts. I mean, we've all got a decent size ego, haven't we?
Yeah.
We put ourselves out there. I'm going to share something with you. From my business days, I was invited to an event in a couple of weekends' time. I can't go because I'm actually filming. Ooh, how exciting. But I've just been so busy this week, as we all do. And this business person's reached out to me and said, I'm running this event. I'd love you to be a part of it. And I completely forgot to respond. And I hate that I forgot to respond, because I like to think that I keep everyone close still. Do you know what I mean? You just don't know when you're going to need each other. And it was on Messenger, and this message popped up like 2 days ago, and it said, such and such has removed this message. And I was like, what? And then I looked at it and went, oh my God, I forgot to get back to them. Jumped in and saw that person had deleted all the messages inviting me to this event. I felt horrible. And I messaged immediately and I said, I am so sorry. I've been so busy. I didn't mean to ignore your message, but I just wanted you to say that I'm so grateful that you reached out and invited me to your event, and I want to be a part of your next event. And they came back and they said, I deleted it because I felt silly because you hadn't responded. Oh no. And I'm like, no, we can't, like in business, we just can't be like that. We have to, people's lives are busy. People forget what really they should have done is probably messaged again saying, hi, Michelle, did you get my message?
Yeah.
Love you to be a part of this event. But that takes courage, doesn't it? That's scary. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, because this is something that really can relate to leadership as well, right? Is we make assumptions on things. And you could have made an assumption as well and thought, oh, they've deleted because they've changed their mind and they don't want me, and not reached out back.
Or they cancel the event.
Yeah, or they cancel the event.
She canceled the event. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's about stepping from that place and having the courage to have conversations. It's not always just performance management conversations we avoid. We avoid so many conversations that really can set the tone for things, can put things at ease, that can line up clients, that a whole range of different stuff that we kind of make an assumption, and then that becomes our basis or our excuse for not going and taking action.
And look, that person is from my previous life as a business owner.
Yeah.
But I have made a point of maintaining those connections, because, as I said, I just don't know when I'm going to need them. I don't know when they're going to need me.
Yeah.
I think it's really important just to keep those little threads in place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm a massive believer in that. And I if anyone's listening that is scared to, who sent out the initial email or made the initial phone call and is scared to make the next one, this is your little reminder to do it. Because, as I said, you just don't know what that person is experiencing. You don't know what kind of week they've had. And you've got to have your instincts and know when you're going too far and being or they're just not interested. You've got to be switched on to that and aware. But you just don't know, that person that you do reach out to and put energy into, they might turn around and say, just like me, I'm so sorry, I completely forgot about your message. I'd love to be a part of it. Or yes, I actually need I need a new electrician, I need a new plumber, I need a new person, I need a new organizational psychologist. You know what I mean? You just don't know. So please, just put the ego aside and don't listen to that. Listen to them later. The ego comes in handy, but sometimes it just needs to take a back seat, and you need to tell it to get in the back seat.
And that's really interesting, because that relates to me. And sometimes I don't want to be pushy. I don't feel like that's my nature. And I feel, like you said before, I feel like I want to have high-end clients that I connect with, that are relatable to my content and to what I do. So I don't want to go out and seek those people that may not be. But I also find when it's on the other foot, I will be on mailing lists for things and I'll think, I'll sign up for that. And it's the third email that I get that goes, it's closing soon, that makes me think, oh, I'll jump on it now because I'm so busy. So, here I am perceiving the world one way, but in reality, it's completely different.
Oh, and I've got a fabulous, clever friend in sales, who you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
And she's got literally got a six path nurturing funnel technique, if you like, where she will contact that person 6 times over 6 weeks. And by the 6th week, if she hasn't got the response that she wants, she knows to let it go. Do you know what I mean? But, generally speaking, she's just warming them up. And at some point, she's hoping in that 6-week process that they're going to get hot and she's going to convert. But that's six attempts. Do you know what I mean? And I always remember in business being told that it takes, if you're pursuing a new client, sometimes it takes at least 7 times to build that rapport, to build that relationship, to get them to give you an opportunity. So it makes sense that she's got that 6-week path that she follows. Try and convert someone.
I think it was Tony Robbins in Business Mastery. He kind of said as well, it's like a 1 in 10 ratio. So you're going to get 9 no's statistically before you get 1 yes. 100%. So
it's a numbers game. It really, really is. Yeah. Business is a numbers game. It's just finding your people. And then, at some point, someone's going to go, you're the one I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
And you just have to believe in that. And that's a massive thing for me, is self-belief. I didn't
Yeah.
have a lot when I was younger, and I can tell you where my self-belief came from. I've got a husband that has too much self-belief.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
Yeah.
He's really, I guess, shared his self-belief with me. It's almost like I'm
Mm.
his now. Do you know what I mean? He's probably got a bit less and I've got a bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but I think you have to believe in yourself. If no one else does,
Mm,
you're not going to get anywhere. And you have to do whatever it takes, whatever rituals you need to do every
mm,
day to just have that little bit of self-belief, which I want to share my journaling experience. I'll take 15 minutes a day generally when I can. Sometimes I can't, but in that 15 minutes, I literally write nonstop. It's called a stream of consciousness.
mm-hmm.
And I brain dump into my journal. I just write. Even if I've got nothing to write, I just write. And sometimes I'll be writing, I don't know what to say next. And boom, out comes the next idea and off I go again.
Yeah.
I set a timer on my phone. I like to light a little candle. I like to do it when it's quiet and the kids aren't awake. My husband's not around.
Yep.
And it's just my time, and I brain dump. And you'd be surprised the energy that you put and the focus you get from journaling is
Mm,
crazy. It's
mm.
not everyone's cup of tea. But for me, I just find that I'm literally writing a to-do list in my 15 minutes of stream of consciousness writing.
Yeah.
It gives me so much clarity, and it gives me, and sometimes some days I'll write about how I believe in myself, even if I don't. I'll be
Yeah.
faking till I make it in my journal.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes, whatever you have to do to keep that self-belief alive, do it.
Mm.
Because practice makes perfect.
I
Not really.
think there's a fine line. Yeah. Practice makes progress is what I've
Yes,
been told.
that's
Practice makes
what I meant.
progress.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line with that though too, because I've met some people that just, especially in leadership, they've got this inflated sense of self. And so they're not actually doing things to progress, to improve, to enhance, and everything's always changing. Right. The phone
Yeah.
that I have this year is different in specs to the phone that I had last
Mm.
year. Right. So everything around us is always changing. So we can't expect to be, oh, I'm a fantastic leader today, and next year still be a fantastic leader unless we're doing something, right? Like conferences or the
Yeah.
ripple effect,
Oh,
plug,
isn't that
or whatever
amazing?
it is.
And thank you for saying that, because that's something else I'd like to share is, I arrived back from Melbourne into Bunbury and I'm like, how am I going to make this career work? But I just knew I needed to. And so I made myself a little routine, and part of that routine was journaling, but
Mm-hmm.
also podcasts. Oh my God. I don't know
Yep.
what it is with a podcast, but if I'm having a bad, flat day and I'm like, I don't have any self-belief today, exercise is a big one, because
Mm-hmm.
I clears my head. But a podcast, and for me, I'm not really a reader. I prefer to audio book
Mm-hmm.
and do something, because I'm quite a busy person. So I'll clean the house and podcast, or I'll wash my car and podcast. But it's amazing where your inspiration comes from, particularly if it's in an area that you love.
Mm.
If you're flat and you have no inspiration and no motivation, go back to the basics. What are those things that you relied on, or you put emphasis on when you were just starting out, that gave you that inspiration? And you talked about networking. Isn't it
Mm.
amazing when you go and network, even though you don't want to, you put yourself out there?
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing? You just come out on fire. You got all these
Yeah.
ideas, you got new connections. You know what I mean? Yeah, you have to go back to basics sometimes.
And I think it's just about courage, and whether it's leadership, it's entrepreneurship, it's starting a new business, it's all about having that courage to connect with others. And I remember when I first when I graduated from my psych degree, so you go and pick your tickets up, and they've got like a little bit of a sundowner kind of drinks element. And I grabbed my tickets from my graduation ceremony. I went back in my car, and I'm sitting in my car, and this little voice goes, "What the F are you doing?
Get
Like,
back in
you're
there.
starting your own business, and here's some like-minded individuals." Exactly. Get back in there. So I pushed myself. I was the first one to stay back. And then other people were looking over, and I was just harassing the stall holder keepers. And then people started coming in, and I met an amazing girl from that, and she introduced me to Upland Consulting Southwest Leaders Program. I did that for a little bit, and I still keep in contact with her now. And if I hadn't have had the courage to go back in and actually take that step,
Mm.
that's at least one contact I wouldn't have had. that
Yes.
I really cherish, today.
And don't get me started, but with my acting students, I use a little tool called High-Low Buffalo. I don't know if you've heard it. If you follow Ask Vin on Instagram, he's a communications expert, but it's his trick. It's called High-Low Buffalo. So pretty much when you meet someone new, the idea is that you tell them one high, like a high, basically. Like today I won lotto. Do you know what I mean? And then low, my goldfish died.
Yes.
And then you tell them a buffalo, something really random. And the purpose of high-low buffalo in any networking event, or if you're trying to make small talk, is to get people to connect with you. When you tell them a high, I won lotto, they're like, oh my God, how much did you win? Starts this massive conversation. When you tell them a low, it's an opportunity for that person to go, oh, you're human. That's really sad. I'm sorry about your goldfish. You really love them, And then the buffalo, something random, that's always going to start conversations. But for anyone struggling with small talk or networking and meeting people for the first time, high-low buffalo. And I teach my students because, as I said, the acting industry is all about who you know, and they're going to have to talk to people at some point. And some of my students are little, they're 10.
Yeah.
I've got the other side of the age scale as well. But, we've all got our insecurities, haven't we, about meeting new people? So, yeah, high-low buffalo is my little trick.
I love that. I was
It's a good one. Thanks, Vin.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's
thank
his
you,
last name,
Anishi.
Vin Giang, Giang.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fabulous. I saw him as a keynote speaker for a business conference I went to, probably 2016. And he was amazing. He's a magician as well, but also a communications expert. Puts on a good show, that one. You should get him
right.
podcast. He's awesome.
Well, I was coaching someone the other day through going into a new networking event, and I had my techniques, but I love that because the stuff that I was doing was all the logical, practical. Yeah. But this creates some emotional connection and some realism as well, right? So the buffalo, some random fact, someone looks at you like, oh, and people connect with quirky.
Yeah.
If we're always too stiffly, it's not going to work. But
if they don't like your high-low buffalo, they're not your people. It's as simple as that.
So it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
I love that. So I've got some questions that I ask every one of my clients. So clients, here I'm going back into business mode. I'm on a podcast, all right, that I ask all of my guests.
What do you call them? Do you call them podcastees or podcasts?
I call them guests. You're my guest today.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for being my guest.
My pleasure.
Yes. So I believe, and you know how my ethos works, but just for the listeners as well, I believe that sometimes we have obstacles in our lives that can seem really overwhelming, but later on we can see them as advantages or have benefits. Can you tell us about an obstacle in your life that at the time you were like, but later on you were kind of like, oh, actually, I'm pretty grateful for that?
I think I've told you.
I think you have. Pick another one.
Do I go to Melbourne? Do I not go to Melbourne? That was massive for me because I'm not a risk taker. That is my husband's job in our relationship.
Yes,
he's the one with all the ideas, and I say go or stop, or and I'm the operations. I'm logistics, I guess. But so I'm not naturally a risky person. So yes, going to Melbourne was massive for me. Pursuing something I dreamed of for years. Like I'd be in stage shows and I'd just be like, you don't always get cast in the lead role, and simply because you're not the right fit. But I'd be yearning to be more. I just had this urge and desire. I needed more from it. You know what I mean? So at some point I just had to take that leap of faith, and that's literally what it was. And it is, it's not without its challenges now. And, we're in an interesting times. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's been a writer's strike in America, and there's been an actor's strike as well. And it does flow on to Australia. So the industry is a little quiet at the moment, and it's easy to go, I'm not getting any opportunities to audition. Is it me? It's easy to look at yourself and not know what's really going on out there. But I think that's the opportunity where, as I was saying before, we go back to basics and just do all the things we did in the very, very beginning, you know, and just kind of start again. And for me, I go back to the drawing board and I'll reach out to someone, you know, I might go, okay, I'm going to reach out to 2 people today, and off I hustle. But yeah, it is scary still. Like I'm not in the clear. I'm not Margot Robbie. She's a bit younger than me, actually. Okay, who's a relative?
She's nothing on Michelle.
I'm not Ashley
Griffiths.
Ketty. I'm not Toni Collette. I'd love to be. They're amazing. They're goals for me. They're big goals, and I'm not scared of them anymore. But yeah, I think it's the best move I ever made, and I was dragged kicking and screaming by my husband. I dragged him kicking and screaming into business. He dragged me kicking and screaming to Melbourne and said, "You're going."
Yeah, nice.
And we can make this happen. We'll find a way, and you do.
Yeah. And just interesting there where you were saying, you know, there's the strikes on with the writers and the actors, and it slowed the work down. And I can see a benefit straight away for that, because that kind of pushed you into the coaching, didn't it? And and you've said to me you're actually surprised at how fulfilling the coaching element is, and how it fills your cup watching the growth of your clients.
Yes. I mean, I'm such a big advocate. I've always loved to watch people excel, and I know it's not everyone's thing, but for me, it's that inner teacher. I think you've either got that or you don't. But for me, I do, and it gives me so much joy when I communicate, you know, a new tool or a new technique to create some form of authenticity in front of the camera, because that's what film and TV is. It's not characterized, well, not generally, unless it's like a character movie. Acting for TV and camera is really authentic. It's a natural thing that you've got to try and develop. It's actually harder than what it sounds. It's natural to just act. Do you know what I mean? But no, it needs to be relatable, and it needs to connect with the audience. But I guess I have a tool or a technique that I share with my students, and they get it, and the penny drops, and then I'm just watching, you know, them come to life.
Magic.
Screen, it's the best feeling. It's almost as good as when it lands for me. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of joy there.
So one of the other questions I ask is, have you had an obstacle that helped you connect closer inward? Because I have this belief that the closer we connect inward, the more resilience we have, and the more aligned we are with opportunities that come our way. And I think the whole acting course or the acting school opportunity would have done that for you, wouldn't it? It would have created that space where you had to go inward.
Yes, because it comes back to self-belief. You know, I would never, if I didn't have that tiny little fire inside me that just knew I had to do it, I don't think I could have believed in myself. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I suppose, you know, people have their ongoing practices. So for me, I regularly meditate. I also have different podcasts and books. I kind of have that genre of book I turn to. And I also have family as well connecting. And I have you, which is one of my ways that I help myself connect inward, because, you know, I feel like with our relationship or with you just have that wisdom that's on the same frequency or vibration as me, and you can see through some of the crap I make up in my head sometimes, right? So
we all do it.
And you keep me real, right? You just keep me grounded and you keep me real. But have you got anything that you turn to that is a regular practice that just helps strengthen that connection inward?
I have little mantras that I will repeat. I'll have on repeat in my head. I journal. I think that's always a good go-to for me. Getting back to nature is, I think, huge. I think it's such an overstimulating world that we live in, and we're in demand all the time, aren't we? You know, we're so available via email or over the phone, or do you know what I mean? And it's exhausting. So I do feel that going back to basics is really important sometimes, and that for me is nature. It is exercise. A big one for me is play. As in have fun, laugh.
Yes, yeah.
That's massive. It's a real circuit breaker. But do you know something I do? And I've actually found out there's a name for it.
Yeah.
It's called bed rot. Have you heard of bed rot?
No. What's bed rot?
Well, Carwyn and I like to call it bed day, and it's not as sexy as it sounds.
Okay, tell me
I
more
think,
then. It's
I think
okay.
that,
It's censored for my listeners. Okay, go.
you think everyone's woken up again and listening? What is she talking about?
Michelle's talking about her bed rot.
I've got a real bad case of bed rot. Yeah. Okay, so bed rot.
Okay,
I think
tell me.
I don't know if I touched on this, but after 12 years in business, and we made that decision to close down because we were terribly burnt out. Remember I told you we sprinted the marathon?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
paced ourselves. So there's a rookie mistake. If you're in business
Yep.
and you're listening, make sure you are pacing yourself, because if you sprint it, you won't make it. And we
Yep.
didn't. As soon as the main part of our business, which was staff, was not available to us, we were just like, oh, we're out, and we shut the
Yep.
business.
Yep.
But we were burnt out, and it probably took us, I think we were in a bit of shock and denial for the first 6 months, and we went and renovated 2 investment properties, like, so we're physically working to renovate these properties. And
You had to keep yourself busy, right? That's what was familiar to
I
you.
think
Yeah.
that's what it is. I think that
Yeah.
you're on the house where we can't get off, so you keep busy.
Yeah.
Like, to distract yourself from those feelings of how you're feeling, and you don't want to feel them because they're so bloody uncomfortable.
Yes.
We just kept busy. And then when they were over, we fell in a heap, and probably spent, I'm not lying, and yeah, this probably sounds shocking to some people that are busy. We just couldn't get out of bed. And it literally was 6 months watching Netflix. Maybe that spurred my interest in acting. We watched so much TV. But we were so burnt out. And I remember nights where we didn't do anything all day and I couldn't cook. So we were ordering takeaway most nights, because we didn't understand it at that point, but we had reached a point of burnout.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So from there, I guess, eventually you do recover, and we did. We got our energy back to a point.
Yeah.
And I find that I don't have energy for things that don't serve me or I don't love anymore.
Yeah.
So if I find something is a little bit of PTSD from my business days or the kind of work that I was doing, and to that level, my body shuts down. It's crazy. But if I'm doing something I love, then I have so much energy. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
So there are days that we have bed day, and usually it's on a Sunday or on a weekend, and we just don't do anything, and we sit in the bed and we watch Netflix, and we restore ourselves. We're getting, I don't have the energy I had when I was in my 20s. And you've got to get your energy back somehow. And sometimes it's like, put the to-do list aside and just be here in this moment, and restore your mental and physical and spiritual health.
And I think with burnout, it's one of those fallacies that people don't realize is they think, oh, they're just burnt out, but it's not something that happens overnight.
No,
it's something that progressively happens and we become in denial of.
Yeah.
And we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Whereas if we had that more self-awareness and we had more kindness for ourselves, and if also as leaders, we need to be looking out at our team as well and recognizing, hey, they're on the potential verge for burnout. Yeah. What can I do? And I've seen it in some of the businesses I've been in, that the business is kind of like, no, don't stop them. Let them keep going, thinking that this is great because the productivity is high. But then they burn out and they're not there, and everyone's complaining and how they have to jump in and fill the hole. So
100%. Yeah.
It's about the awareness of it, I think, and recognizing and giving ourselves permission to go, it's okay to do nothing today.
Yes. And it's okay to not be productive.
Yeah.
It's okay to have a day where I'm not achieving or accomplishing. That is my nature. I feel validated and I feel good when I'm successful, but sometimes I just can't. And it has taken me a long time to give myself permission, as you say, to feel like that. And for me, actually back to those practices you were talking about, those days where I don't believe in myself and I'm doubting myself, or I'm just tired and I don't know why, that they are the days where I allow myself just to feel, and I just acknowledge those feelings. I didn't do that before. I ignored my body and I kept going and I burnt out. But now I am in tune. And I think that's what that process did for me, what tuned me into my body. So I listen now, and I know when I'm at that point of I'm about to hit the wall, I need to have a bed rot day.
Yes. Yeah. Bed rot day. I love that.
Bed day.
We've got what was the other one? The high, low, buffalo, and bedrot day. Two key
Yeah.
takeaways from
2
our
nuggets.
interview today. Two
Bed
nuggets.
rot.
Good nuggets. Two bedrot nuggets. Yeah.
Do shower at some point.
Okay, you shower as
Bed
well.
rotting.
Nice. Yeah.
You need to, yeah, because it's a bit sweaty.
Don't want to fully rot.
No,
It's just the name. Okay. Yeah, right.
that's him. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, when we're talking to a friend and we can see them going through it, which is where you were a great support for me over time. It was about you gave me permission, but that next level of elevation as leaders, as business owners, entrepreneurs, is picking up and having awareness to give ourselves permission.
Yes, and it is easier said than done. But I think it is something that you need to do for longevity, because if you don't, you will burn out. And I think we were burning out in our business and we weren't even aware. It was happening a couple of years before it actually ground to that halt where we closed the doors, because you just feel like people are relying on you and you feel very responsible and you feel like you have to keep pushing. But yeah, that's not the answer. You have to give yourself permission to have that holiday, to have that weekend off, to have a day in bed, whatever it takes. You go to the beach, lay on the beach for hopefully it's summer, but lay on the beach, read a book. We have to slow down at some point. Our bodies are just we're not made to operate at that level all the time.
And the thing I found over my lifetime, career and lifetime, is if I don't make that choice consciously myself, my body or the universe makes that choice for me.
Yep.
Right.
You get flu or you get sick, something will happen.
Or you can't find staff in your business and you have to close, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You will get forced into doing it. And it's
100%.
so much more pleasant when you choose it yourself.
I know, isn't it? It is amazing, isn't it? It's like we hear it all the time. I've worked so hard, and you just look. The light at the end of the tunnel is the holiday that you're going on. It comes holiday time, and you get sick. It's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's because you haven't managed yourself, basically.
Yeah.
You haven't managed your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health. So important.
Very important. So, look, I've loved having you on today, and I know it's been a long time.
Am I going to be? Who's going to do my commercial?
I don't know. I reckon that's going to freak people out now, because they're going to be hearing me on the intro, then me and you, and then you in the middle, and then me and you. It's going to freak them out a little bit, but let's see how we go. See how many people comment on that.
For that little the intermit. What is it called? What's that word? The middle of the show, intermission. Intermission. I do ham it up a little bit with my voice, so I guess it's
so awesome. I remember the first interview I did. I checked in afterwards after I posted it and launched it, and I checked in with the guest and I'm like, "Hey Ben, what do you think?" And he goes, "Oh, it's a great interview." He goes, "I got a bit of a shock when that lady came spinning around in the middle." So he must have been watching the YouTube. And you come in and go, "Oh, if you're enjoying this podcast."
I forgot that I did that. I had to do that to get myself in that place that I needed to be in.
So good.
Into camera.
But that's exactly what I was after. Right? I feel like maybe that's why I connect with you so much. You have this really essence and aura of professionalism, but you're playful as well, right? And I think that's what makes things not seem like such a drag, when you've got the ability to pull from your playfulness.
Oh, well, look, we only get one life, don't we? We don't want it to be boring and sad.
Yes, very true. So if anyone's listened to this and just thought, "Oh, I need Michelle to come and do my corporate induction, or come on this little project I have with this little mini feature film, or even just voice over some bits and pieces," what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love to help you with your project, and I think we communicate these days. The medium is via video online. It's not so much TV anymore, isn't it? But we do need, we just need a voice here and there, to throw into voicing over a video that we've made, or maybe it's on hold messaging, or maybe it's a corporate training video and you need a voice or a presenter, or maybe it's that feature film and you need a leading lady. Please get in touch with me via my email address. I'm sure you'll put that in the link, Gnomes.
Yes. Yeah.
Please phone me, text me, go through my actingforcamera.com.au website and contact me that way. Find me on social media, Acting for Camera Coaching with Michelle on Instagram and Facebook. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to work from you, and I would love to bring your project to life.
And I just love the diverse nature of your skills as well. I remember when you first did your audio reels, your show reels for your audio, and you sent them through to me, and I was listening to them, and Zoe comes in, she goes, "Who's that?" And I went, "That's Annie Mishi." And she's gone, "Really?" And we listened. She's like, "Oh, that's so professional." And I'm like, you sound shocked. This is Annie Mishi, right? Like, but yeah, I love the way you have such a versatile voice, but you're also able to pitch it to whatever it needs to be pitched to, right? It's not just that consistent same thing.
Yeah, and I think it's about the vocal range and getting into the character and sort of trying to understand its purpose and understand what your brand is as a business. That's really important as well. Because I can be more playful, or I can make it more serious. I recently recorded a training video. It was huge. It went for ages, lots of corporate speak, but I think I managed to bring the emotion in at the right time, where I needed it. The topic was quite controversial, but it was an important training video that was needed for a particular business that had multiple subcontractors. So before engaging their subcontractors, part of the induction was this particular controversial training video that I voiced. And it was a little bit dry, I must say. But as I said, I think I managed to bring in the emotion and connection where it was needed.
So, you didn't break it up with any burp noises or anything like that. You just kept it all professional.
Well, look, I'm not responsible for the final edit, so any sound effects could be used. I'll do as I'm told. If there's a obscene noise in there where it's not meant to be, that's out of my control.
She's adventurous with her voice.
It wasn't from me.
All right. Well, look, again, thank you very much again. I know it was short notice jumping on, so I really appreciate you doing that for me. And
my pleasure.
I can't wait until you're taking me along to your big gala launch events on the red carpet. Bugger Carl, he can stay home with the kids, right? Like I'm taking that spot.
Oh, look, I am in a feature film. I'm going to give it a little plug for posterity.
Yes.
It's an independent film by Newland Productions. It's called The Trip, and it's in production next month. Probably will be released, I would think, late next year. But we're having our meet and greet next week in Perth, Hillary's Boat Harbour, on a boat. So there's some perks.
Yes, how exciting. And so then we'll know you as Cheryl, won't we? Is it Cheryl?
Oh, I'm an Australian woman. Mother.
Oh, Sheza. Yeah,
Sheza. Husband's name's Wayne.
Wayne nice. Yeah, Wayne and Shez. Nice.
So Australian.
No, congratulations on that. I just think that's just awesome. And I have no doubt you're going to nail it.
Awesome. I hope there's more to come.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much again. And
thank you for having me.
We will chat again very soon.
And to anyone listening, thank you for listening. And if I can help you in any way, please reach out. I'd love to talk to you.
Thanks for joining in and listening to this episode of Catching the Octopus podcast. It's been great having you here. And if you'd like to go and like and subscribe and maybe even leave a 5-star rating if you think it's worth it, I'd really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.